Hello, good morning, and thank you so much for tuning in to Voice of Uganda Radio. I'm your host, Miss Brenda, and welcome aboard for Freedom at Hand here on Voice of Uganda Radio. What a beautiful show Margaret Opio just did before the lead in here to Voice Uganda Radio, to Freedom at Hand. I have to be honest, I did not understand the language, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a language that I think we all speak without words. And that's what I felt from her program this morning. And we're so thankful to have her as a part of our Sunday morning lineup. She takes the anchor and leads the way to start our Sunday morning. So I hope that you enjoyed her program. And I thank you so much for staying around for Freedom at Hand this morning here with me. I usually chair this with the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and Dorothy usually comes in as well. Dorothy will probably still be coming in sometime later this morning. The Honorable Zoe Bakoko is in another state this morning doing some interviews and working on behalf of FUF and FADU. And so we are always very, very thankful for her. She continues to be a foot soldier. She continues to work effortlessly towards our movement, towards a new and a better Uganda. Let me just take this moment to say to you, our listeners, that a lot of you noticed that we have a different lineup on Voice Uganda Radio. We're no longer on Monday through Fridays, but we're on the weekends. And even on the weekends, our days have shortened a little. We don't go as far in the evenings as we used to go. There's purpose and a reason for all of those things, and I just want to share it with you just a little bit here. We are not only doing what you hear us do here on the radio. I remember early on we used to get shows, callers come in and they would say, what are we doing? How are we moving forward? We can't just talk about this problem. We've got to do something about it. Well, FUF and FADU are doing just that. Voice of Uganda Radio is doing that exact thing. We have meetings, we have conferences, we have other things that are being, that we have to do outside of being on the radio. So every now and then it will pull us away from the radio, but don't think that it's pulled us away from the cause. Don't think it's pulled us away from the purpose. We are working. We're putting in our 10,000 hours on behalf of the Ugandan people. Our absence should make you feel good because you know that we're meeting, we're conversating, or we're doing something behind the scenes that will pull us away from the radio from time to time, or that will pull us away from our programs here on Voice Uganda Radio. So what we do here is to continue to feed into the hearts and the minds and the souls of the people. You in the diaspora, you in Uganda, and throughout the global world. As I stated on my program a few weeks ago, these programs are picked up in 30 countries around the world. So our biggest audience being the American people. So let's remember that our purpose and our cause here is great. And it does not just focus us here on the radio, although this is our first love and this is where we prefer to be. But we have to do the work in Washington, D.C. We have to do the work through our meetings, through our conferences, through meeting with senators, through meeting with different organizations, not just in Washington, D.C., but other global entities, trying to find ways to unite, to make us bigger, to make us stronger. We realize and we understand that alone we can't do much. But as we start to unite, as we start to pull ourselves together and become one, it makes us very, very powerful. We here at Voice Uganda Radio know that. Freedom and Unity Front understands and knows that. The Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda understands and knows that. We need the diaspora, we need the people back home in Uganda, and we need the American people, as well as the other countries that listen, because they are all our neighbors. And when we talk about going into a new Uganda someday, we need the support of the people who listen to us now. We will need their support later. So we are always, always working on behalf of the Ugandan people. We are always, always working to find strategies and ways of moving us forward faster, uniting us so that we become one. I loved listening to Margaret Opio's show this morning because it's starting to become the voices of Uganda Radio. And I like that because what it says to us is that it's important to bring on the different dialects. It's important to bring on the different languages, to unite us, to bring us together, to help us to understand at even a greater level than we do today. So, with that being said, um, I also want you to know that because the Honorable Zoe Bakoko is not here on Freedom at Hand this morning, I will take over her new slot this morning. Her heart is broken that she couldn't be here for her new program coming out from 12 to 2 today. But I will be doing the American Connection from 12 to 2 today instead of Zoe Bakoko coming on. She will be back with us next weekend, and then we will move forward from there. It's interesting that most of our interviews and most of the things that we do pull us away during the weekday, which is why a lot of things have disappeared on the weekly schedule. But from time to time, things will pull us away on the weekend as well. But we do try to keep in mind, and when we set up these appointments, whether it be in Washington, whether it be with other groups and other organizations that we're trying to work and unite with, we try to do these things during the Monday through Friday schedule so that it doesn't interrupt too much the talk radio that happens here on Voice Uganda on the weekends. So we thank you so much for our patience, because all of this is just growing pains. It's growing us in a new and a better direction for the Ugandan people. We are so very, very excited here at Voice Uganda Radio for the new programs that we've been able to implement and bring in. We're very excited about the unity of FUF and FADU to work together to bring the harmony to the people of Uganda. So there's a lot of growth happening. There's a lot of changes happening. And as those things happen, you will feel the effect of it to a certain degree as well. But my brothers and sisters, let me tell you, these are great days for the Ugandan people. We are making strides like you would not believe. Doors are being opened to us that we are not privileged to share at this moment in time. We are really excited about the new Uganda, and it is a vision that we have had. It is a vision that continues to grow, and it is a vision that we continue to move towards. So we're very, very excited. You should be excited too. Great things are happening here. Great things are happening. I wish I could go more into detail, but I can't at this time. But just believe me when I say the American people love the Ugandan people. The American people love what's happening. The American Connection today from noon to 12 is going to be on the African Summit. And I'll be able to share a little bit more about some of the comments that came out on the American side, how a lot of things were viewed with President Museveni coming to America. It's going to be a beautiful show. So don't miss that one today from 12 to 2, the American Connection here on Voice Uganda Radio. We have, we put together a show. It's going to air here on Freedom at Hand, August the 24th. So mark that on your calendar, August the 24th. Dr. Samuel Henry Mukasa and Professor Otunu will be here on Freedom at Hand. They will be talking about the unity. They will be talking about the vision that we all have, and the vision, you will see that it has become one. They will be talking about moving us forward into a new Uganda, some of the things that they're doing that they will be privileged to share on the radio. Not all things they will be privileged to share, but what they will be privileged to share, they will. They will welcome your calls. You can ask questions at that time. You can ask questions about the movement, how we're moving forward, what we plan to do together, working together. You can talk to them about the council that has been set up between the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda and Freedom and Unity Front, a council that will work together to continue the work that we both do individually, but bring it together, collective minds, as we move forward. So please keep that in mind. August the 24th, we will be taking your calls. We will be listening to your concerns. It may not all be good. Some of it may be bad, but we need your calls. We need your input. We need to know how you're thinking and the direction you would like to see us go and move into. It's going to be a great and a wonderful show with those two individuals, the leading two for FADU and FUF, that will talk on a deeper level to you about concerns, comments that you may have, share if you're excited about it, the coming together, If you have doubt about the coming together, anything that you want to share and talk about, we will have that 2-hour program on August the 24th. The leaders of FUF and FADU will be here with a panel discussion for an open mic for you to call in, be a part of the conversation, and be a part of the movement forward as we start to work together. And we're very, very excited about that. They will talk a little bit in length too about some of the work that we've been doing, because we don't want to keep everything from the Ugandan people. We want to keep everything from you and the diaspora. We need you to know that we're working. We need you to know that we're moving forward and great things are happening. But please also understand this. There's only a level in which we can share, and there's only a level in which we can speak and talk about things. And we have our reasons for doing so. So we hope that you will respect that, but also ask the questions you need to. If we can answer them, they will be answered. If we can't, we will tell you and explain to you why they can't be answered. But please, please be a part of that. That will be a great Sunday lineup. So we are looking forward to that. We're really, really looking forward to that. I have introduced myself as Miss Brenda, and this is Freedom at Hand here on Voice Uganda Radio. I want to use this opportunity because I have a panel now that works with me. I love having that panel, and I love the discussion we're able to have here on Voice Uganda Radio. But I haven't really been able to have the one-on-one talk and the one-on-one conversation with the Ugandan people, with Ugandans in the diaspora, with my American audience, which I would like to say thank you so much to my American audience. Welcome aboard this morning. It means a lot to us that you get up on this Sunday morning as well to be a part of Voice Uganda Radio, to hear the concerns, and to be a part of what is happening in Uganda and how we move it forward. So thank you so much to my American audience, as well as all of those of you in the 30 countries around the world that are tuning in this morning. Freedom at Hand. I normally use this time to talk about great heroes, great people, great strides, and what they have done to move their countries forward. I use it to talk about great leaders, even here in the United States of America, and the progress that they have made moving forward. Today, Freedom at Hand is about putting freedom back in the hands of the Ugandan people. Putting freedom back in the hands of the Ugandan people. How do we do that? How does that look? How do we move forward in making that happen? How do we empower the people in Uganda and in the diaspora to take a hold of the freedom, which is rightfully theirs, and give it back to them, empower them to help them to move forward themselves? Because you all know the great leaders. We all know the great leaders. We all know the great things that they've done. We've shared that time and time again here on Freedom at Hand. But now it's time for us to look at it from a different perspective and putting the freedom of the Ugandan people back into their hands so that they can move themselves forward. Now, we can honestly say that the Ugandan people have already started to do this. Brenda Nabakenya's election, where she won by a landslide there in Uganda, that is the Ugandan people speaking to us in the diaspora loud and clear, saying we're trying to take back our country. Help us. Let us not have a deaf ear when it comes to what the people are trying to tell us and what the people in Uganda want us to hear and what they want us to know. One of the things in the diaspora, one of the things here in the United States of America that we need to start to understand, in order to help the Ugandan people to take back their freedom, we have to start to learn to read between the lines. There's a lot of things that the Ugandan people are telling us, but are we really listening to what they're trying to say? Are we really hearing them, or are we really just interpreting it into what we want it to sound like, or what we thought we heard, or what we want to hear? That election with Brenda Nabakenya there in Uganda tells us that the people are rising up against the government to say, you can beat us, you can torture us, you can throw us in your prisons, you can throw us in your jails. You can refuse to feed us, you can refuse to give us medical treatment, you can refuse to educate us. But we will make our voices heard loud and clear. And the American people hear that, because one of the things the American people understand and know, the vote speaks volumes of how the people are trying to bring about change in their community and in their country. So when we look at that landslide of a victory against all odds, what did you walk away with? What did you think that the Ugandan people were trying to say to you? What is it that they're trying to get us to rally behind? We cannot say that the Ugandan people are being lazy and not fighting for their country when they went against all odds to make this election so publicly known that it made newspapers throughout Uganda, it made newspapers throughout London, it made newspapers and became conversation even here in the United States of America. The government may have silenced the voice of the Ugandan people, but when the Ugandan people have an opportunity to tell us, help us, we need to take that and we need to use that to fuel our own energy, to fuel our own power, to help us to move forward into a new Uganda. That is what I took away from that election. I'm going to welcome calls in. Don't be shy to call in to Freedom at Hand this morning, because we need to have these conversations about the direction in which the Ugandan people are starting to lead us in the very, very small ways in which they're able to get their voices heard. Even within the news and the media and the things that come out and the things that are printed, they're in the Monitor and the Observer and in the other press, Black Star News. Read between the lines, my fellow Ugandans. There's a message there, and we are all connected to that message if we go and read it with a clear conscience. One of the things that we are, can I just say, it is a struggle. It is a struggle in the United States of America to unite the Ugandan people. It is a struggle in Washington, D.C. to unite the Ugandan people. It is a struggle within our own communities throughout the world to unite the Ugandan people. It is a struggle in Uganda to unite the Ugandan people. But it has to be done. We can no longer look at the situations as the North, the South, the East, the West, the Central. We can no longer look at it as regions. You have 56 regions with all different types of dialects that run through the heart of Uganda. And that heart of Uganda runs right through the center of the heart of the people of Uganda. We have to lay our differences aside and say, how do I help my brother? How do I help my sister? How do I reach across the barrier lines to understand what they're trying to say? Laying down my own opinions and my own views of how I feel, what I feel, and how I think this should be done. If we don't start to look at ourselves as if we don't start to look at ourselves as one instead of individuals, we're going to miss out on the messages that we're trying to send. One of the universal signs, SOS, if someone draws SOS, whether they draw it in the sand, whether they make it with fire, whether they make it with shells, no matter how they make it, it's a universal sign that something is wrong, someone is in distress and they need help. We need to develop something in the Ugandan community that is an SOS. And that SOS says, don't look at me as being a chosen. Don't look at me as being anything other than who I am. Understand that I am one, as you are one, as Ugandans, and we need help. We need this help to move us forward. I'm going to go ahead and introduce and let Dorothy come on in this morning as we continue the program. But let her come in and say good morning and hello to the audience before we get going here in the program. Good morning, Dorothy. How are you?
I'm good, Miss Brenda. How are you doing?
I'm very, very well. Thank you so much for being a part of the program and for being here this morning.
Oh, thank you so much. But you are the most welcome, Miss Brenda. We thank you so much. We love you for the hard work, your service for Uganda. And I hope that my fellow Ugandans, they need to get up and take responsibility. We have such a gift. We have people who care for us. But what about us? We cannot forget Uganda. Let us get up and do the right thing. Miss Brenda, once again, thank you so much for your love, for your gift for Uganda. We love you. I would like to thank the gentlemen in the studio, people who work tirelessly 24/7. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. And I'll bring you in and out from time to time as we continue to have this conversation and about putting freedom back in the hands of the Ugandan people. Just Speak on that just real quick before I go into the rest of the program, what that looks like to you and how we move forward in putting freedom back into the hands of the Ugandan people.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. Putting freedom back in the hands of the Ugandan people. That is the way to go. That's what we are fighting for. But I think, Ms. Brenda, as I mentioned before, you have given everything. You are working so hard. So somebody came, took away the freedom. Somebody came, took away the power. Somebody came, took away the basic human rights from the Ugandan people. Now, we, the Ugandan people, what have we done about it? I know we have tried. We have tried, and the dictator comes back with full force. But for 30 years, there is nothing out there that's going to make it better. We just need to keep trying. Miss Brenda, you mentioned us being one. I was just coming on that. We need to stop seeing each person. In Uganda, as I mentioned yesterday, everything you do, people ask you, what are you doing it for? What are you benefiting from that? Why are you doing that? Even in this struggle right now is going on, people have asked, what positions are you going to get? How much money are they going to give you? This is total service, a responsibility, volunteer work, which we all ought to do, because our grandparents did this, and we are supposed to do the same thing. They handed over Uganda to us. If they didn't do what they are supposed to do, there would be no Uganda. So for you, for us, what are we going to tell the children? What are we to tell the grandchildren? That what happened. So this is a responsibility. It is not about what you benefit, what you get out of there. What do you get out of there? What I get out of this is Uganda. I'm a Ugandan. Uganda sweet home. It is my home. I have a right to fight for it. I have a right to make sure that the Ugandan people are treated the way they are supposed to be treated. Not that what do you get about? What do you get out of it? Because, Miss Brenda, why am I going this way for a little bit? When you mentioned us not being one, everybody, they see themselves as an individual. Here we go. For me and my stomach, and for God, for us all, because, Miss Brenda, this is what happened. The people with the bad intentions came. They paid them money. The MP, the term limits was gone. People were paid very little money, 5 million shillings. They sold the country for peanuts. The term limits were taken away. Culture reader bill, it came, 5 million shillings. They sold it. Land bill came, 5 million shillings. They gave it away. Why am I mentioning all this? Because people see themselves as individuals. People see themselves as taking those yellow envelopes and what they benefit as individuals. That's what we had yesterday on the new program, okay, where they are telling us that Museveni is striking a deal to give so much money to one law office to improve his image, giving so much money to one person so that they're supposed to lobby for him in Washington to improve his image. But what about
let me tell you, to have a company in the United States of America work on behalf of cleaning up your image, it costs a lot of money. And these are Ugandan taxpayers' money that this man has had 3 decades to fix, to move the people forward, and he hasn't. And now he wants someone else in America to come into Uganda and clean up his mess.
Exactly. So, Miss Brenda, we are all, what am I getting to? That to work on that idea of us being one, caring for one another, caring for the country, it takes all of us. Because let me tell you, now there are millions, over 400 billion that this money is dishing to the MP, to the police, to the army, to ensure his 2016 election. But what is in the hospitals? What I'm saying, until we wake up and sacrifice and work and see ourselves as one. Otherwise, we forget about Uganda because you have chosen a way of being paid while others are suffering. How much money do the MPs have to take home when the doctors and nurses and teachers have nothing? So every election, every bill that comes around to confuse the Ugandans, to nullify and void the anti-gay bill, the same person went behind, gave some people money, got to court that the bill should be nullified because he wanted to be here in America. So I'm saying Museveni has done wrong. But before we see ourselves as one, as Ms. Brenda is saying, and take responsibility for our country, we are all responsible. Because why am I saying this, Ms. Brenda? Museveni cannot do this alone. We need to start to single out people and hold them accountable for Uganda. We cannot close our eyes anymore and walk blindfolded. No more. So until we do that.
You're right. You're absolutely right. My fellow Ugandans, this man is not keeping himself in power and doing this by himself. There are people helping him and moving him forward. These are the people that, and let me tell you, there is no room in a new Uganda for what is happening and the monies that are being paid out for this to happen. If these people are truly interested in the best interest of what's good for Uganda, they would stop taking this money. They would stop taking these handouts, and they will do what is right on behalf of the Ugandan people. You cannot come to me and you cannot tell me that you love your country and you love these people when the light shines on you. But in the darkness, you've got your hand held out for another envelope for what you just did in the light. America is aware of that. My fellow Ugandans, do not miss the 12 to 2 show today on the African Summit, because those are topics that we're going to talk about and dive in a deeper level. Dorothy hit on it a little bit there, and I will talk a little more in depth, Dorothy, on that program about the company that has been hired to clean up the image of the president of Uganda. Why? What is so wrong with his image that he has to now come outside into America for us to do it? We are a country that when we stood up against the gay bill, he told us basically to go to hell, is what he told us, and that he would do what he wanted to do, and he'd go to Russia and he'd go to China to get what he needs. Well, if he is coming back to America for the help that he needs, this is what I mean when I say read between the lines, my fellow Ugandans. We can't do all the work for you. Read between the lines. If this man is starting to come back into the arms and the fold of America to get help, to clean up his image, what happened with the deals with Russia and with China? Have they washed their hands of him because they don't want to be a part of this? Because they know that you don't tell the American people to go to hell when they have given millions and millions of their tax dollars to flood into Uganda to help the Ugandan people, only to find out through Voice of Uganda Radio, through a lot of our traveling and talking to the American people, giving a voice back to the Ugandan people, that all the monies that they've been given haven't even reached the people. When they see pictures of the hospitals, when they see the education system, you have a university that was the top of the line in the 1960s, Makerere University. You even had American students, UK students, students from around the world and around around Africa coming to go to that university because it was the elite and the top of what a university could be in the 60s. And now half of it is shut down because of sewer problems. And we've been given millions of dollars to make sure that this happens. And the university has not seen a dime of that money. When Johns Hopkins University wanted to go in there and work with some of the Ugandan students on some research they had been doing, the students are being seen outside in America. And there's no help for them in Uganda, yet we still recognize the gift of the intelligence of these students. But because Johns Hopkins can't work directly with the university, that the President Museveni wants his hand in the pot, and he'll dally out the money to the university as he sees fit. They can't strike a deal. That's terrible. Dorothy, I'm going to come back to you, but let's go to this caller real quick. Caller, introduce yourself and come on into the conversation.
Yes, good morning, Miss Brenda. Good morning, Dorothy. My name is Musana, co-host of Gwanga Mje, and I'm calling again to thank you again, your program, and I thank our listeners to keep on listening every Sunday morning. Yes, this is the call that I'm calling, talking about what's been talked about most of the time on this program, on this radio, Voice of Ghana Radio. You guys talked about Museveni getting help from other people to stay in power, to make his own brutality on Ugandans. Yes, this is so true that we Ugandans, as long as we do not understand, or as long as we want to achieve our own individual objectives, this man will be in power. There are so many Ugandans who increase or who support Museveni stay in power through corruption, and there are so many Ugandans who support Museveni's stay or who indirectly support Museveni's stay in power by trying to break up those who are willing to fight, even if they know and understand that we are here to fight, but there are many people who are there to make sure that this is not achieved. And those are the most dangerous individuals who are keeping Museveni in power. Now, having said that, it's dangerous and disingenuous for people to believe or make you believe that they are there with you to fight, get rid of Museveni. But actually, their own intentions are very, very different. We have to understand that the United States has its own interest in Uganda. As I said yesterday on our program, the Museveni government does not know what they want from U.S. We, the Ugandans, we do need freedom. We do need democracy, but we cannot get it waiting for U.S. to come and help us. It will not happen. Just last week, 79 U.S. congressmen signed on to increase the military in Uganda, U.S. military aid in Uganda, to go fight Kony. Come on now. 79 U.S. congressmen signed on to increase the funding in the United States, Uganda aid in military to look for Kony. How can one man in the jungles of Africa, as they say, cannot be traced? Nobody has ever said where Kony is for the last 2-3 years since that movie came forward, even before then. And the many developed countries have sent so much troops, aids, and gadgets to go look for this man. And it's heartbreaking that we Ugandans, if we do not come forward with one voice and say enough is enough, we need to move this man out of power. We are spinning wheels. By that I mean we are not going anywhere, given the action of what I've said about 79 U.S. congressmen signing to increase military aid in Uganda, and the purpose is for looking for Kony. And just remember, after the homosexuality law was signed into law, the U.S. decided to stop military collaboration with Uganda. But here we are now. I think it's going to resume. Now, Uganda government, UPDF, Uganda People's Defense Forces, last week, Museveni ordered 300 UPDF members to go to Makele Department of Agriculture and study agriculture, because Museveni is going to put the nuts, whatever that nuts is, in the hands of UPDF, and he has said so, and he's doing it. This is the mind that this man has. He's a dictator. Makele University is an institution of higher learning, but to him, just like Amin thought, he just says, I want to go to Makele and part of my Department of Agriculture and teach 300 UPDF men to handle agriculture. And understand that Amin did that when he sent his son to go to study in Makele University. We have a major problem on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot
Yes, we do.
fight Museveni solitarily. A solitary animal is always a danger. We need to get together. We need to recognize the dangers among us. It's time that we took the lead. Freedom Freedom Unity Front and the Federalist Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda, we have come forward, and there is no excuse for anyone to say that there is no way, or how we can get rid of Museveni, or you have no vehicle to help you achieve this goal. Yes, the vehicles are there. That's FAF and FADU. And we are asking all other organizations that have Uganda at heart, please come forward and join us in this struggle. Lastly, you've heard about Museveni dishing out money. Ms. Dorothy has said it, mentioned about it. Now, this money is being dished out to the MPs, according to the opposition member of parliament, the leader of the opposition in Uganda. Over 19 opposition members of parliament have received between 110 to 150 million shillings, and this money is being dished out in cash, as was said in yesterday's program. The purpose of this money is to make sure that once the elections are about to come, Museveni will declare an emergency, a state of emergency, where this election will not take place. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Ugandans, enough is enough. This man does not have the right to rule us this long. It is our duty, our obligation to make sure that this comes to an end. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, and I really do enjoy your program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Musana, for all that you had to share there. And let me just say this, and I'm going to go to Dorothy. This man is no fool. He knew that America turned their back on him with that anti-gay bill that he passed. Funds were shut off. No money's coming in. He needs money. When this man runs out of money, he runs out of power. When he runs out of money, he runs out of power. And he knew that, and he knew it very, very quickly, because if he can't buy the votes, if he can't buy the people in parliament, if he can't buy the police and the armed forces, those people will turn against him and start fighting against him, because he knows that money is the root of all evil, and that is the way and the purpose in which he's using it. Now, for him, just before he makes a trip to the United States, he decides that the courts will overrule and overturn the gay bill. He had to do it. He had no other choice. He's not doing what he's doing on behalf of the Ugandan people to say, oh, now you guys are right, now I'm listening to you. He's doing it because the well started to run dry. What's the first thing you see when he comes back from Washington, D.C.? You see somebody standing in a picture with him holding tons of money, the Uganda Bonanza, all the monies that he's getting ready to give out and stuff. Coney, the 79 senators that signed off on money for the military to go out and continue to look for this individual, he is hunting down Ugandans. He is killing Ugandans. He is buying tear gas, and he is buying pepper spray and everything he can to keep the Ugandans are the hunt that he's on. It has nothing to do with Coney. The only people that he's continuing to harm and cause problems are the Ugandan people. And what the American people need to understand, and what they continue to know and understand from these programs, is that we can no longer allow our Congress to sign bills into law giving this man money to go in and continue to rule over the Ugandan people, to destroy these people's lives as if they have anything to give. He has brought them to their knees, and to their knees they have started to pray, and our God has heard their prayers, and he continues to move us forward in a great and a positive way. Dorothy, go ahead with your comments on what he had to share on that.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. Thank you so much. My fellow Ugandans, listen. I'm not being harsh. I'm not being crazy. But let us have a closer look for Ugandans. The way we are behaving, we ourselves, okay? We can go ahead and blame Madam Watka. We can go ahead and blame Webb and his company for accepting money to clear up Museveni's image. Madam Watka for lobbying in Washington. We can go ahead and blame CNN for taking over $4 million because of their airing this natural tourism program for Uganda, but it has nothing to do with Uganda, but with improving Museveni's image. Miss Brenda, we have called, we have written. They never get back to us. The man strikes a deal. Yeah. Before we go ahead, how am I going to blame the U.S.? Because the one interest is good. Everybody has an interest, okay? But it just depends. Am I going to blame the U.S. to look after their interest and blame all these American people to do what they do? Why not the MPs, the Ugandan who see their brothers and sisters suffering day in, day out, Miss Brenda? As I said, this dictator cannot do it alone. Before I get to these people, before I start complaining about America, I'm going to complain about me. And I'm going to complain about Uganda. Why the Ugandans, they are giving out AIDS to go help people with HIV, malaria is killing our babies like crazy. These MPs, some of the opposition leaders, the youth, even in Uganda, people who come out to protest and walk, and the rest of the Ugandans follow them, they have turned into a business. Like these NRM Mbabazi youth. Mr. Ruzindana, Norman, and Robert, they are in top prison in Ruzira for taking those piglets to the parliament. But for you, you turned your back on them because Museveni gave you money and he gave you Mercedes-Benz. Now you are not caring anymore. What kind of a hypocrite is that? This is supposed to be a youth. Where people, they feel they need the money, they go back and they protest, they lead opposition groups. As long as they are voted into parliament, they forget about it, they settle for the yellow envelopes. Miss Brenda, the Ugandan MPs and those other people, the individuals who are supporting Museveni to stay in power, they are still taking yellow envelopes. And America knows it. So how are you going to hold America responsible? Mr. Webb responsible? How am I going to hold Miss Wesker responsible when you are still taking these yellow envelopes? It is the time for FADU, FAF, Voice of Uganda, to stand up and shame ourselves and shame our fellow Ugandans who are pocketing these millions and millions of dollars. Apparently, spend them, pay in cash. You hold your fellow Ugandans hostage. Why is that? We will get to the Americans and we will blame what they do because they know better. But we Ugandans, what are we doing? When are we going to be one? I'm saying, Ms. Brenda, coming back to your question, that this is a struggle we need all to get involved in. Stop filling your own stomachs and be responsible for the country and everybody in it. And that way, we fight for power and freedom together, and we hand it back to the Ugandan people through federal system, where everybody, they are responsible for their region. They are responsible for their needs. The central government is there to guide. Not where one man sits in the power, collects all the money from the country, and starts driving around with the sacks of money, giving you peanuts, and sell our country. Yes, we fight for power and freedom together, and we give it to the Ugandan people. It is yours. It is your birthright. From today on, you get up. Stop taking bribes and holding your fellow Ugandans hostage. I think, Ms. Brenda, it is high time we get the list and we start reading these names out and loud. Thank you so much.
Well, that's what we're here for, to bring, to put a face to what is being done in the darkness. My fellow Ugandans, today is the day and it is the time. We have to start waking up and start fighting back for what is yours. We can no longer say that everybody is responsible for helping us to get back where we need to get to. We have asked for support on this radio. We have asked for support through FADU to put us in the positions to make these things work for the Ugandan people. And we have to continue to do those things. I've got a point I need to make, but let me go ahead to this next caller. Caller, introduce yourself and come on in.
Thanks very much for this opportunity, Ms. Brenda. My name is Kalimages from Manchester.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Allow me to continue with the program, the very interesting program. the fulfillment of the bribes that my sister was talking about.
And you are very aware of, because you've talked about it from time to time on this program. Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
Yes. Miss Brenda and my sister Doris, let us be categorically clear in as far as a bribe is concerned. Why is a bribe given out? Let's first go to the bottom of the line. Why is the bribe given out in the first place? And to what extent? And then from there, I will go to the way we are looking at the foreigners, like the Americans, that they have not taken any instance in as far as helping Ugandans is concerned. Okay, let's go back. Miss Brenda, the kind of situation that our people are in, it's unexpected. Everybody in Uganda is living today's life. Leave alone where am I here in UK, leave alone where you are, but everybody in Uganda, even the president himself, he is living today's life.
Yes.
So everybody, the 34 plus million Ugandans have been reduced to live for today's life. That's why everybody will carry out an activity that will help him to live today's life, not tomorrow's life. That's why you see rivers being destroyed, lakes being destroyed, fishing being destroyed, agriculture being given to the army. You get my point, Miss Brenda?
I do. I understand.
Yeah. So now when we come to see the people who are living today's life, so now when we extend the blame, we have to blame them less. And now, who is going to be the rescuer? The rescuer is going to be FADU and FUF and other parties.
Mm-hmm.
But we are the ones who are going to rescue them. It's like the children of Israel. Everybody, anyone, any stranger who was walking in the middle of Jerusalem, they were asking because God promised to them the Messiah. I think you are aware of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Any stranger who used to come, they used to say, "Are you the Messiah? Are you the Messiah?" Up until Jesus Christ arrived. But they couldn't believe. And now the people of Uganda, because among those MPs who took the money, there is one guy, an MP from Acholi. He calls himself a man from the Acholi land, Odonga Oto. I couldn't expect, Miss Brenda. I couldn't expect. Mm. So when I blame these people, I blame them less because they have been reduced. Their lives have been reduced to a daily life. They don't have a future.
Well, and this is the thing. I understand what you're saying, but we have to take the Ugandan people out of a place of being beggars, because that's what we have. That's what we have brought the Ugandan people to. We have made them beggars, and we've made them beggars in their own country, a country which should be taken care of, providing and making provisions. Out of all the millions of dollars that this man is outside of Uganda spending, all that money has been given to him by the diaspora, and it's been given to him on the taxpayers' dollars from people in Uganda. Yet none of the money that he's spending has anything to do with bettering the hospitals, the education system, giving anything back to the Ugandan people. Everything is for him, his image, and his party. So when you say that the people are living the way they are, it's because they lived every day, day to day. They're not even promised that they'll be alive tomorrow. we've got to take away that way of thinking from the Ugandan people and let them know that they have life. It is to be lived to the fullest. You in the UK, me in the United States, everybody around the world, wherever they're at, they don't go to bed tonight thinking they're not going to wake up tomorrow. They wake up, they go to bed thinking of what they're going to be doing tomorrow. The Ugandan people don't have that luxury anymore. That is a luxury that has been taken away from them. So the state of where you're saying the Ugandan people are, it's not a state that they put themselves in. It's the mindset that this man has put on them. It's the way he makes them see themselves, and they feel like they have no other outlet. That's why we're coming in to say, oh, yes, you do.
Now we come to the point, how do we take it out?
Mr. Karimage, that's where I was getting at.
And let Dorothy get
how do we take it out?
Because yeah, Miss Brenda is right. You have put the Ugandan people and Museveni in the same category. They both live for a day. Nobody knows what is going to happen, but apparently he has done this for 30 years. And my point is, he's not doing it for himself. So, Mr. Kalimagad, we cannot. You are not going to pick something, a foreign item in my eye before you do pick out of your eye that you can see to help me out. Okay? So, people have been reduced to nothing, that the only choice they have is to take bribes. When is this going to end? If you have owned a boat, or if you gotten a chance to take a boat to go take it to eat in the bush, you know how a boat behaves. It will fight you to death, okay? But apparently you are taking it to eat. Right now we have no other option except to open our fellow Ugandans' eyes that when you do this, this is what happens. We can no longer afford. We can no longer afford. They started slowly but surely. They are selling our country for peanuts, holding everybody else hostage. So they lived for a day. What about those who cannot afford to end up in the parliament to get the money? Can you put them in the same category with the rest? That they don't see what they are doing? It is high time we be responsible. Now, if we blame America, if we can still take your envelopes, then I'm going to blame Mr. Webb for doing what he's doing. I need to hold the Ugandan people accountable. Then I'll come to Mr. Webb. America has its own interest, but we have Ugandan interest too. We better act in the interest of Ugandans. We can no longer afford to defend such people. For the longest time, Mr. Otto, I don't know if it's right or not, he has been on the right side. So what happened? We can no longer afford to give up hope and do the unacceptable. We need to get these individuals accountable. Mr. Museveni doesn't do it himself to stay in power. America will deal and work with anybody so long as that person is the president of Uganda and they have their interest in Uganda. When we acted out and did what we are supposed to do, and America stood up at the gate deal, they did what they are supposed to do. He realized that I was playing with the fire. Now the bill is null and void. So long as Museveni does what America wants, they'll go ahead and work with him. So long as Museveni does what Russia wants, they'll go ahead and deal with him. For you, my fellow Ugandans, where is your interest? Where is your heart? Where is your responsibility? Where is your love for the country? No more. No more. If these people cannot differentiate between what is rotten and what smells good that they can eat, are you trying to tell me that? No. Yeah. Until we stand up. For those people who take billions and billions of dollars to be paid, apparently to come here and confuse us, take us off track, apparently who come to spy, and some manage to give people poison. Stop running, look back, stand on your true legs and stand on the truth and what is right. It is not easy. It must be done though. Thank you.
And Kalama, we'll come right back to you, but let me just say this to the Ugandan people. Please understand what Dorothy's saying. This is where I'm saying we have to start reading between the lines. Dorothy is saying, if you send, what you send out to work and represent the Ugandan people is what the rest of the world will work with. The rest of the world may not like it. The rest of the world may know what it's doing, but it is all that you have put forward to work on behalf of the Ugandan people. This is what we're saying. We have to change the power struggle. We have to change the source of who we send forward to represent the Ugandan people. President Museveni has no interest for the Ugandan people, but he is what you continue to send us to bargain and plead for you. My fellow Ugandans and those of you in the diaspora, you have to get on board and you have to start supporting FUF and FADU as we unite to move the Ugandan people forward. This is not the person that we want to send to Washington, D.C. or out in the world to represent the Ugandan people. But if this is who you continue to send us, this is who we have to work with. We hold back wherever we can. We take back whatever we can. We struggle and we move around to make it work in our interest, but in as little as possible. What we are saying is rise up and take your country back. Rise up and join us as we move forward into a new Uganda to make and liberate ourselves forward. Kalma, go ahead and comment on that, because I know that we're answering the questions that you have just asked, but go ahead. I'm going to give you just a few more minutes,
Brenda,
and then we're going to move on.
It's quite interesting that we have to understand that the world has reached a stage whereby even the governance is done globally. Mm-hmm. Because if something happens in Uganda that America has an interest in it, you will see America sending its forces in Uganda. Mm-hmm. But I just want to ask the Obama administration or the American administration, the suffering of Ugandans, it does not, to them, to you guys, how does it sound in your ears? Museveni did change the homosexual bill in a minute. And Mr. Obama accepted him. He took pictures with him.
Well, let me just say something about the picture before you go on. Let me and Kalama, please join me. Please join me at noon to 2 today, because we're talking about nothing but the African Summit. I don't want Freedom at Hand to get off on that. Join me from noon to 2, and that's the conversation that's going to be had there. In a diplomatic setting, when you are the host to an event, you take pictures with every single person that has been invited. He not only took pictures with that president, he took pictures with every president and every leader that was there. So please don't look at photo ops as, oh, good old boys. If you get a chance to look at some of those other photos, he's shaking the person's hand. He has his hand on the person's shoulder. There's a camaraderie there. He is embracing and happy to take that picture.
Let me get out of
look at the picture of him and the President Museveni, you don't see any of that. But please know that that's a photo op that's given to every person that traveled to be a part of that. So go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to make that point. Go ahead.
Thanks very much. No, thanks. Okay, Miss Brenda, the Ugandan society, we have to go back and we study the Ugandan society, the Ugandan people. We have been suffering. I was suffering. I was born under suffering. Even the listeners who are listening, there were some people who were born enjoying life. But time has come, time came out whereby we had to flee the country to look for greener pastures. And time came as well whereby we've got to send money to support the ones we've left behind. But the thing we do people in diaspora is, there are some of the things that are over our limit. We don't teach people, we don't teach our fellow Ugandans what they are supposed to do, what they are supposed to have, what are their rights. We are here, I'm here in the UK. I know the Prime Minister, David Cameron, his mandate is to govern this country. His mandate is not to dictate this country. To this country. His mandate is not to dictate to the citizen of the United Kingdom. But the people of Uganda they are born, they know that the mandate of Museveni is to tell the people people of Uganda what to do. Even the people of Uganda, they don't know that they are the ones who pays Museveni. They know that Museveni is the one who pays them. I wonder whether you get my point.
We do, and I think Professor Mubaru does a great job on that, on his program. But those are the things that you're absolutely right, and those are the reasons for these programs on Voice of Uganda Radio, to educate the Ugandan people, most definitely.
Yeah, we are in a society whereby even it does not know itself. And please allow me to tell you from my religious background, because my religious background tells me that in your life, avoid two things. Avoid the love of money, avoid the love of women. So what is the reason behind that? When you excess the love of money and when you excess the love of women, all of them lead you to hell. That is what we are seeing. We have seen a lot of people have lost life during Museveni's regime using through money, through women.
Okay, I understand the money part, but help me explain the woman part, because I would assume that your mother is a woman. So help me understand that part.
The women part, it's like womanizing. Womanizing. You have to love women the way they are supposed to be loved, not to have to excess the love of women.
Can I share something with you? I need to share this. We'll give you a few more minutes on air, and then we're going to have to go on with the program. There are fellows, that African fellows that are there in Washington, D.C. Each country within Africa there's a fellow to represent each area. The interesting thing about the fellows is they're in Washington. They're fighting for better jobs and equality in their country. They're fighting for, they all have a cause in which they're fighting for, and they're bringing the attention to Washington, D.C. on a bigger scale so that the conversations can be had. There are individuals who are fighting for better toilets that work, toilets that are they're more sanitized. They're working for wells in their communities, to build more wells so that there's more fresh water for their people. Some of them are farming to better educate farmers on how to grow better crops, strong crops, and make more money, and how to make a living off of those. So understand, these fellows from Africa, throughout all of Africa, they are all there with a cause. Mildred Sarah Apio is the fellow for Uganda. Mildred Sarah Apio. I think I'm saying her last name right. Is Apenyo. Do you want to know what she brought to you to Washington, D.C. as a problem that needs to be fixed in Uganda? Her problem that needs to be fixed in Uganda is to teach women self-defense so that they can fight off rape victims. My fellow Ugandans, out of all of the Africans, all these are youth. These are all college students that get this fellowship, and they call them fellows there in Washington, D.C. They can bring the attention to Washington, D.C. on causes, and they bring in structure on how to help these young individuals when they get back to Uganda to see this come forward. And this is what the fellow that is representing Uganda is fighting for. Defense schools to help teach young individuals how to fight off rape victims. My heart stopped when I got to that point, that this would be what she felt the greatest need in Uganda would be. And it is a great need. Trust me, it is a great need, and it's just what our friend here was talking about, the womanizing thing, that now individuals feel the rights of women, that they can treat them, abuse them, rape them, whatever, and there's no accountability for it. It's a sad day when you come out into the free world that you can ask for anything that they can give you help on, to better that and structure that when you get back to your homeland. And this is what her plea is for. We know that the Congo is a rape capital of the world. We know that rape victims are becoming more widespread in Uganda, and nothing is being done about it. And yet, this is what she blogs about as a fellow in Washington, D.C. I mean, it breaks my heart. Dorothy, comment on that, if you will.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. As you already know, the struggles we are going through, the government used rape as a tool. Before Museveni come to power, was it that way? Do we need America to come and fix that for us? The government suspects that you are in opposition. You work against them. They send the army men who are infected with the HIV to rape you. How is that America's problem to fix? How is it womanizing? Men and women, they have all been raped, girls and boys, on purpose. Mm-hmm. That's where these people get the power. And that's where the society is so immoral. The system is broken. There is nothing to hang on to. And then we're going to bury our fellow Ugandans and blame everybody else? How do we do that? America, when it has interest in West Africa, Ebola is going on, they flow in. And it's back to their own people, block them to the United States. Now they're caring for them. They are stable, they look good. What happened? In Uganda, there is no hospitals. Natasha and the rest are hooked up to the helicopter to be taken to Germany to be taken care of. Then the president make a comment, there is no doctors in Uganda who can literally do their job.
When he's not giving them what they need to do their jobs, yes.
Yes, exactly. So what I'm saying, we need to be accountable, okay? The one interest, once again, is not bad, but where is our interest? Our interest is you to take care of your stomach and forget about other friends and the people in the country and your neighbors. Okay?
Yeah, you're right, Dorothy. When you have, you're right. When you have a president that comes into another country whining about, well, we don't have great doctors, well, our hospitals need work, well, we don't have the labor to do this and that and whatever, and then you think about the millions and millions and millions that this man has been given, and then what are you whining for? He has not, in 30 years, he has not used any of the monies that have been given to him to do anything for the Ugandan people. In 30 years, you got to buy the rights to run and rule the country again. If that's the way you rule the country, then it's time to step down. Because if you got to buy people's votes, if you got to buy the attention of people to stay in the power, then something's wrong there. Because no one should have to buy that. Let me go ahead and take this other caller, Dorothy, and we'll come on back in. Go ahead, caller. Are you there?
Yes, Brenda. This is Mubiru Musoke.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for a very lively, although disappointing discussion.
Yes.
The topic is very, very stressful. Well, the reason I'm called is, as usual, to respond to the discussion that's going on, but from a totally different perspective. I'm going to talk about exactly what you are talking about, but from a different point of view, which I call the paradox and the contradictions in Ugandan politics. First of all, Museveni's tolerance and even encouragement of corruption is a very good indicator of his weakness. For example, this money that he has given to the MPs to pay off their debts, 400 million shillings, it's incredible. Ugandan MPs earn about $14,000 a month plus benefits. That's 1 month, 14,000. Very few people, even here in the United States, earn that kind of money. Now, this is paradoxical that people who earn so much, more than anybody, yet they need money to pay off their debts. Doesn't make sense. And people are not furious about this. This is a contradiction. What it means is that actually Museveni himself is morally a very weak character. I mean, how can you tolerate that to be done in your name? How can you approve something like that to give free money to MPs who earn so much and allow them to pay off their debts when people like teachers, police, they are not paid their salaries sometimes. They go for months without being paid their salaries. Well, it's not just a paradoxical, it is a contradiction. Secondly, Museveni, he relies on oppressive laws such as the Public Order Management Act to silence the opposition. That also is, in my opinion, is an indication of political weakness. If you are a political leader and you are strong and you are supported by the people, you don't need laws to silence your political rivals. For me, it proves lack of even belief in democracy. But he goes around the world talking about democracy when he does not believe in it. It is clear the existence of laws like the Public Order Management Act is evidence of of weakness, a leader's weakness, like Museveni. That shows that he's a very weak, morally weak leader. But although we turn around and we see him as if he's a very strong and powerful man, he is not. He's a very weak man, and I think people should understand that. And this is a paradoxical. And it's probably also a contradiction which we should expose. That's why people should come out and, it's not difficult to overthrow such people like Museveni. They are not that popular. In fact, Museveni, third, he lacks principle to guide political action. So he's always inconsistent. Great leaders always, as you have done on your program, they articulate political and moral principles which guide their actions. Museveni has no moral or political principles. That's why every action he takes is a contradiction and paradoxical too. Museveni is opposed to federalism, for example. This is public knowledge. But he is opposed to federalism only in Uganda, but he supports federalism in East Africa because it gives him an opportunity to expand his Tutsi empire. That's a contradiction, a paradox, which people should expose and understand. Well, how can you support a man like that who says one thing today and says another tomorrow and is, as a matter of principle, very inconsistent? Museveni, when he was in the bush, he declared that he believed in the restoration of traditional institutions. Well, the traditional institutions were restored, but after restoring these institutions, he deliberately undermined them. He even subversively practiced divide and rule within the traditional institutions by recognizing new traditional leaders who did not exist in Bururi, in Bugerere, the Banyaras, in the Bakonjo now, in western Uganda, and now I hear in Bugisu he is supporting a new traditional leader just to destabilize the very institution he said he supported and wanted to restore. And fourth, Museveni concerned about his public image, which you just talked about. These are these are the contradictions which we should expose. And this is a contradiction because he is not in power. Museveni is not in power by virtue of the love of the Ugandans. He holds power through rigging elections and using military force. Everybody knows this. And of course corruption too. Why would you need a good public image which is polished with $600,000 if you hold the power by virtue of military force and by rigging elections? Why do you need your public image polished by public relations people in Washington? You know, and why pay $600,000 when the hospital in Bugiri and Mulago, they are stinking. They have no operating wards. There are no mattresses in the so-called beds for the patients, and you pay that kind of money. That kind of money can build a new hospital in Uganda, and even provide for equipment. But he's spending the money on his public image, which means that he doesn't care about the people of Uganda, and they are suffering and all that. That's not even a contradiction. That's a paradox. It can't make sense. There is no medication in hospitals and clinics. Teachers, the police are not paid for months, and you want to polish your public image in Washington for what? Because the Ugandans they know who you are. Yeah, the Ugandans know who you are, and no amount of polishing is going to make any difference. And lastly,
I tell you, an old pair of shoes is just an old pair of shoes with a little bit of oil on them.
Yeah, and lastly, Museveni has murdered several of his political rivals. Everybody knows, and this is public knowledge, and he can't change it. The facts they exist regardless of whether or not anybody believes in them, and you can't destroy them either. So they are there, and he can't do anything about it. So only cowardly leaders can do what Museveni does to kill his political rivals. So you can see this may not be a contradiction. It may be a paradox. Why would you kill your political rivals if you are so strong? And at the same time, if you are so strong, why are you looking to polish your public image in Washington? So all these, I think, if we can make sense out of them, it's not going to be very difficult to overthrow Museveni if the people understand all these contradictions and paradoxes. I think it would be easy, very, very easy, to remove Museveni. So the task for FADU and FAF is already, is ready. I think it's a clear cut. All we have to do is to expose the truth, and the people know it, and it's just to put emphasis where it belongs right now. And I think the people will support us, they understand what we are talking about. So with those few words, I think I can hang up the microphone for others to go, and with just one emphasis that only cowards can do what the things Museveni is doing. Museveni wants to project an image of a brave, indomitable leader, but he's not. He's morally weak. He has no principle, and the public don't love him either. So that's why should it be very difficult for us to remove such a man? That's the paradoxical question I leave with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor. And I hope that you'll be a part of and join me for the African Summit from 12 to 2 today. That promises to be very interesting. Dorothy, go ahead and comment. I have so many things to say from what the professor just shared. Go ahead, Dorothy.
Oh, thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. Professor Mbiru, when I say when he starts talking, grab a pen, I mean grab it, because I do the same thing. So if you have any questions, he just put a mirror in front of you. What is the question? What is the paradox? What is the irony? Okay? That's what I'm not going to let down. I'm sorry today. I'm harsh, and I'm going to be. Because if our mothers needed to bring us up right, they did so. That's where we carry on in the world. Otherwise, we would not manage. Professor Mbiru, what he's telling us, that if somebody is using a gun, okay, and is rigging elections, it means people are not supporting him. If somebody is using that immense amount of money to pay MPs and the police and the army and the individuals, that means the man doesn't have no power. Nobody loves him. If the man is paying, these law companies in the U.S., Madam Watka, that means he has lost it. What is missing? What is missing is us. What is missing is what Miss Brenda was talking about. Until we see ourselves as one, in love, in accountability and responsibility, and join our hands together, this is no job. And how do we do it? What do we emphasize on? As the professor said, where do we put our emphasis? For me, the dictator cannot do this by himself. So that we need to put the emphasis on those people who support him back home. Then we press and lobby our interest outside the Uganda as the United States. I haven't seen a country which stand up on its true feet and they scream and fight for freedom and they are not helped. Okay? So that's what we need to do. We can blame Russia, we can blame US, we can blame those who take pictures with Museveni. Let me tell you, if we stand up and claim Uganda as ours, and our intentions are clean and true and clear, if God is for us, nobody can be against us. We need to come together. We need to stand up as one, and we need to be responsible and accountable. You cannot keep taking one envelope after another, Miss Brenda. And we say that because Museveni has reduced you to nothing, that you cannot differentiate what is wrong from right? No. We can no longer afford to do that. Our business of shying away, what would they say? No, we need to stand up to the truth and claim our country. Okay? Museveni did what he needed to do. Not long ago, he wrote a very long article in a New Vision. And when you looked at the last paragraph, he said he had no choice but to reinstate the cultural leaders because Museveni, Obote, had abolished them undemocratically. It wasn't democratic, so he had no choice. Not that he loved it. He had to install it because Obote has done it in an undemocratic way. So he did it. And when you look at it, he has failed. He needed the Kabaka of Uganda and the rest of Uganda's support and Ugandans to bring him to power. So he did it because of that too. Not because he was interested in you Ugandans, my fellow Ugandans. No. If you look at it now, he looks to establish these Banyankole who said they live in Chebando. The guy's name is Museveni. Now they want to separate from Uganda because the Baganda forced them to. But when you look in the history, they are nowhere to be seen. So this business of divide and rule, and we people sitting back and we cannot see what's wrong we are doing in order to save our mother country. We cannot afford this anymore, Mama Brenda. Professor Mbiru has said it right. What is wrong? The money, nobody loves him. The money pays his way out of everything. What are we waiting for? Coming together in love and fight for our country and start doing the right thing for Uganda and all the Ugandans. Yeah. Until we do that, that's what it is left, because we can stop beating ourselves and blame everybody. What do we want? America to go in Uganda and they boots on ground and start fighting for us? I'm not saying Ugandans haven't tried, but we need to unite and become one, okay? 10 boys, Miss Brenda. They came up demonstrating with a coffin, put it on the side of the street, they sat down, they didn't do anything wrong. Okay, they were remanded to reserve prison because they are not working, but they are out there screaming for work. What kind of a country is that? And you put that person in the same category with an MP who is taking almost $15,000 home every month. Now they have these bonuses and allowances. Now they are pocketing this money, and you put them in the same category with the other Ugandans, and then you put him in also in the same category that he lives per day.
You know, that's what I was saying earlier, Dorothy, when I was saying read between the lines of what the Ugandan people are trying to tell us. Because you're absolutely right. The individuals that had the casket and they were walking through and they put it down as a demonstration that they have no jobs. They're dead. They have no jobs. They're trying to tell us that we have problems. We're trying to fight. We're doing what we can do. And this is what happens when we stand on our own. They throw us into these jails, they torture us, and they do all these things to us. They're sending messages out loud and clear, not only to the American people, but to the world and to the Ugandans in the diaspora. Please, please get on board. Get on board with the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda. Get on board with Freedom and Unity Front. Get on board with Voice Uganda Radio. Donate money, give your time, give wherever you can give to be a part of this movement forward. Dorothy was right in saying it, and I think Professor hit on it a little bit as well. You know, when you make a noise that you're being mistreated and something's very, very wrong in your country, you get the attention of the world, and the world starts to broadcast it and say, what's going on? Why are these things happening? There's too much silence. Even with everything that's going on in Uganda right now, there's too much silence of the voices of the Ugandan people. If the people inside can't say anything, we need to stand up and say something for them on the outside. We have to do that. President Museveni looks for every opportunity he can to call his people stupid. And one of his comments most recently that he's made is that if they allow themselves to be treated this way, then they're stupid. How else can they allow themselves to be treated when you dominate over them with guns, with weapons, with tear gas, with pepper spray, with taxing them, with taking everything away from them? I don't understand how the people fight back other than the way that they're doing. And don't call them stupid, because this is why the youth are out there carrying a casket, saying we're dead. We have no lives here. This is why the pig was put out as demonstration as to what is going on. Every time the people speak out to make their voices heard, he tortures them and throws them in jail. So you cannot call the people stupid, because they're not stupid, because the rest of the world hears and we see the very small things that they're doing. We are aware of it and we understand and know. For this man to have to buy his way back into another 5 years of government, the people have turned their backs on him. He has no friends. The only friends he have are the ones that he can pay to continue to be his friend. And those people have no place in the new Uganda. There is no tolerance. There will be zero tolerance in the new Uganda. This is a mindset and a way of thinking that we have to stop and we have to break. We have often said it. Fadu has said it, as well as Buff is now saying it. We have to take the power away from the chair and give it back to the people. Because as long as you keep the power focused there, everybody's fighting for a position for the chair to be the president instead of fighting on behalf of the Ugandan people. Dorothy, I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes here to round out, and then I'm going to close out the program for today. So go ahead and take 3 or 4 minutes with some closing points here.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. Our listeners, whenever you are, the gentlemen in the studio, those who are working tirelessly.
I know, Dorothy, let me just interrupt you. Let me interrupt you just really quick. If this caller comes on, we can only give him just a few minutes here so we can close out the program on time for our next program. But go ahead, caller, come on in. You have just a few minutes here on Freedom at Hand.
Yes, I'll be brief, Ms. Brenda. Thank you so much. I just want for Ugandans, especially those in the diaspora and within perhaps in Uganda, and our fellow brothers and sisters in America, especially the black Americans. This is the man who came in power, who took power after taking power. He called black Americans stupid and useless. And this is quote. He said that if blacks should be allowed to be taken slaves, then they are stupid and useless, and they should not blame the white man. This came from the mouth of this man, Seven, and it was never publicized. His comments was never publicized. But we, people on Voice of Uganda Radio, we're going to make sure that we mention that so that the entire American citizen, especially the blacks, understand who this man is for him to make such comments. And also, in his beginning administration, he said that Hitler was right, but except he went too far. How can a man say such things and be embraced by the American government, by the European government? It is our duty to make sure that such words spoken by this man, Dictator Museveni, are known the world over. Yes, I'm supposed to be brief, and I thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Thank you so very much. We're going to go to Dorothy for her closing arguments, but let me just say this. He may have made that comment on us years ago, Black Americans, African Americans in the United States, but we became victorious, and so will the Ugandan people against him. Like we overcame through civil rights movement to fight back for our freedoms and justice in America, we won. Ugandans, you can do the same thing. This man has fighting words out there, so let's fight back. Go ahead, Dorothy, with your closing comments.
Thank you so much, Ms. Brenda. All our listeners, wherever you are, we love you. My fellow Ugandans, it's not time to put our tools down. We need to get up and we do the job because of the right reason that we've been in oppression under 30 years. Plus, our brothers and sisters have been murdered. We have no basic needs, no basic human rights, no nothing. It is murder, 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 murder. Professor Mbiu talked about mugging his political opponents. A man is so strong. You are not a man because you cannot stand up to competition. Okay? So, you saw almost a month ago when the younger man, he was only 3 years, when his father died was poisoned, the king of Toro. Now he's a man, and he's claiming and asking what is his and his people. Okay? He stood up. Museveni called him a child. 2 days later, you saw Museveni staged an accident. His 3 leading men were killed in an accident. His message was clear. I will kill you if you do not stop. My question is, are we going to keep running? How far are we going to run? When are you going to stop and look back and take the enemy? You stop being scared. And let me tell you, for those of you who are willing to sink with the boat, okay, go ahead. Because at this time and point, we are crying for you. We are asking for unity. We are asking for accountability. opportunity to be Ugandans and take Uganda back. But so far, very few are so determined. But sometimes, if one man is right and 1 million is wrong, and they choose so, it doesn't mean that that one man is not right. We will fight. We will get there. And at this time, in point, there is nothing much Museveni can do. As the prophet has laid it, yes, he assumed the money would be enough. But he realized that after all, when America cut aid, he could no longer support to pay off those people who take the yellow envelopes and those who are trying to polish his image. I don't know that they are doing anything at all, except we need to see what is the irony, what is missing. What is missing in action is us, the Ugandan people, to be one voice, to be one person, to unite and take this monster out of our country. And no matter what, Miss Brenda, this will happen. There is nothing forever. We will stand up for the truth. Nelson Mandela did it, and we will go ahead, and we will succeed, so long as our intentions are true and clear. We have nothing to hide. It will be justice for all, and the Ugandan people will get the power in their hands. Yes, the Ugandan people don't know their rights. They don't know that in 7 days is supposed they are pay for him. That's what we are doing at Voice here, education, education. And being tough on those who have choose bribery and corruption, we are going to teach them a lesson. If they don't know that it is wrong, well, they'll find out. Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. I love you, my fellow Ugandans, wherever you are. Thank you so much. In the name of Uganda, we'll stay strong.
Yes, we will. Thank you so, so much, Dorothy. And she's absolutely right. You know, it's time to take back Uganda. This man has thrown the people around for far too long. He's pushed them around for far too long. He's called them names. He brutalizes them whenever he can, and then he blames them for their own shortcomings. I mean, it just is amazing. He will go to no ends to make himself look better, stronger, more powerful, in a powerful position. But we understand and we know that he's there because of the monies and because of the funds that he's getting from other countries to keep him in power. If it were not for those money, if it were not for those funds, he would not be where he's at. You know, paying CNN to be a part of the tourism packet that they're trying to put together for Uganda. Can I just say, I am an American, true and true, and I visited throughout Africa, throughout different countries. And the treatment that I experienced in Uganda, I will not recommend any Americans to go there and visit as tourism at all, not under this government and not under this regime. Because you go there and you show sympathy for the Ugandan people, you may end up in their jails and in their prisons. You may be labeled as being a terrorist in a country that your government can't even get you out of because of the way this man plays. I would not advise any Americans to go there as tourists under this regime and under this government at all. I did, however, go into as a tourist into Uganda under this regime. Things were taken from me at the airport. I did not understand why. They later on was given to me, but I had to pay money to get it back. When I went back to the airport to get the things that were taken out of my luggage, which I did not understand why, and mind you, I'm traveling alone on my own, touring. I don't even allow my children to travel into Uganda anymore. They have traveled and been a part of going into different things there as well. I did not understand the treatment at all. When I went back to the police station, they told me to be there the next day to get my items and explain and fill out the paperwork. It was 3 watches that I had taken for 3 individuals. When students have graduated from the University of Florida and from other universities, we have hosted and had parties in our homes for these individuals. The community of Ugandans that I know inside of Uganda is for that reason, that I have built a lot of friendships from people that I've had parties with, from people that I got to know when they first came to America. They didn't know anyone. They didn't know how to get around or the system or whatever, those have become my friends. Those are the people that I go back into Uganda to visit. They invited me back for weddings or different things that were going on. So those are a lot of the reasons why I go back into Uganda, for relationships that I built here in America. When I went back to the airport to get my items, they decided to take lunch, to take a break. They made me sit there for 3 hours. I'm an innocent American traveling into Uganda. They've had me sit there for 3 hours to wait to get my items. When the individual did come back, at this point in time, I almost felt like leaving and not picking up the items out of pure anger to be treated this way. Because in America, you do not have such treatments. You come in and out of our country with whatever you want. There is no speculation. I'm an American, traveling on American documents. I didn't understand. When they did decide to give me those items back, they charged me. I probably paid about $50 American to get those items back. Why do I share this and why do I say this? Because I have a huge listening audience here in the United States of America. And I'm telling that audience that when CNN put those things up and when they start to rally behind these people, we will picket them. We will go out on their website and we will put comments out there and we will tell all the American people why this is not a good venture. He may think he can come into this country and buy the American people with his money. But the American people on our soil, we can fight, and we will fight, and we will not take this line down. You can call the Ugandan people stupid if you wish, but the American people are not stupid. We have rights in this country. We have freedom of speech, and we will make CNN dread the day that they put anything up on tourism in Uganda for any reason whatsoever. You do not treat not only Americans, but you do not treat anyone in the free world with disrespect. When they come to your country with money to spend in your country, in your restaurants, in your hotels, getting private drivers, all the monies, we could flood hundreds of thousands of dollars in Uganda a year in tourism, but not to be treated in such a way. I will not stand for it and I will not support it. And if anyone asks me, those would be my words to them, to not travel into Uganda under this regime. Come back and join me. I have said at the top of the hour when I started my program, the Honorable Zoe Bakoko is working diligently with members of UN on behalf of FUF and FADU this weekend and will not be here for her first program. She apologizes and she is very sorrowful that she won't be here, but it gives us the opportunity to bring in the American Connection. The American Connection will be on today from noon to 2, and we will be talking about the African Summit. There are some things I need you to understand and know so that you don't walk away with the wrong idea of how President Museveni was treated here in America. He can go back to the Ugandan people and say whatever he wants, but I'm going to tell the true story of how he was treated, what took place, and why it took place in the way that it did. I will welcome your calls and welcome you to be a part of that conversation. You know, like I told our caller when he called in earlier, please don't be misled by those photo ops. Those photo ops are given to everyone. But you need to understand what happened in some of the other photo ops and how other members and other leaders were treated here. To say that President Museveni got the cold shoulder in the United States of America would be putting it lightly. So I pray that you come back and join me for the American Connection from noon to 2 today, where we will discuss and talk in length and detail about the African Summit, how our leaders felt, some of our congressmen, president, State House, State Department, alike. We have to go. Our time is up here on Freedom at Hand. Thank you so much to Dorothy for being a part of the program today. You always bring such passion and such love for the Ugandan people, and we appreciate you and love you so, so very much. It is an honor for me to work with people like you, people like the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, and our new sister who's come on board, Margaret Opio. It is truly an honor to work with these women who love the Ugandan people and have nothing but the best interest in heart for them. Thank you so much. God bless you all. We'll see you back here at noon for the American Connection. I am Miss Brenda, and you have been listening to Freedom at Hand here on Voice Uganda Radio. Have a great Sunday, and we'll invite you.